Kia ora team, Chris Farhi here, hope you're going great. Welcome back to the vlog and welcome back to the Wynyard Quarter mini-series. So you recall in the last vlog I looked at the history leading up to the start of the regeneration down here, and I ended up finishing talking about how I'd have a look at the heritage buildings next. And honestly, I thought it was going to be a complete walk in the park to build up a vlog on that sort of content. Turned out to be completely different to expectations. So with that said, let's get into it. So the heritage situation in Wynyard Quarter is actually quite curious. In the last vlog we looked at the history of Wynyard Quarter, starting its life as the Western Reclamation with a history of supporting Auckland's maritime industry and with an early focus on the timber trade and then subsequently bulk petrochemical storage. In the lead up to filming this vlog I jumped on the Heritage New Zealand website to identify the heritage gems in the area. What followed was shock and confusion when the website showed no results. Assuming some sort of error, I immediately followed with a search of the unitary plan for the streets around Wynyard Quarter, which identified a single item. This is where things got interesting as I opened up the plans and found that the single heritage site is actually the wind tree sculpture. So this sculpture was unveiled in 1971 as part of the Auckland International Sculpture Symposium and was later installed in Kiwi Square in 1977 and moved to Wynyard Quarter in 2011. Outside of that, the area is actually lacking in heritage buildings in terms of officially scheduled buildings. That said, if we switch topics slightly to character buildings, we do get a couple of hits. The Wynyard Quarter design framework identified a couple of character buildings: the Lysaght building, the Southern Spas building, Flower Traders, and the Coal building. First off is the Lysaght building, which is currently functioning as a grid AKL space as part of the Innovation Precinct. Constructed in 1921, this building was named after the original tenant and served various industrial purposes over the years. The redevelopment was sensitive to the original brick masonry and beams, so retains a level of character industrial feel. This building was also the seed project for the Innovation Precinct. Similarly, the Mason Brothers building. Originally built in the 1920s, its history centres on the Mason Bros Engineering Co Limited, which at one point was one of New Zealand's largest engineering firms and set a record for shipbuilding in New Zealand with the Stewart Island Ferry Wairua. This building was redeveloped in 2016 and is actually one of New Zealand's most sustainable buildings, having achieved both a Green Star 6-star as-built rating and Neighbours NZ 5.5-star rating for energy efficiency. And then there's the cute little building on Halsey Street. Depending on your reference point, this is referred to as either the Flower Traders building or the Halsey Traders building, and to be honest, I trawled the web for a while but couldn't find any details on its history. And then finally, unfortunately, the Coal building didn't survive the redevelopment process after consent was obtained to demolish it but create the new Coal Plaza building, which has some design features with similarity to the building. Planners at the time commented that the building was a character building rather than a scheduled heritage building, and that the district plan had contemplated demolition of those buildings, and the criteria meant that a replica replacement facade was actually appropriate in that case. Outside of those buildings, there's been controversy over the years as various interest groups attempted to get other buildings scheduled, including some of the buildings along Beaumont Street. Reflecting on all of this, a couple of things stick out for me. The first is the history of the development. Having originally been on reclaimed land that was finished in the 1930s, there's been limited scope for old heritage buildings. A lot of the original buildings were also of a simpler industrial nature, rather than some of the grand old buildings like the Ferry Building or Chief Post Office, and so have been more susceptible to redevelopment over the years. You do, however, observe how redevelopment can embrace the character of those older warehouse buildings, and in return those buildings add character back to the area. And interestingly, one of the factors helping the redevelopment of those buildings is that, being older warehouse type designs, they're probably a little bit easier to open up into open plan office spaces that are in demand these days. Finally, you can also see a pretty clear candidate for future heritage protection. If you looked at the area today, one of the things that really defines its heritage is the silos, and whilst they're reasonably modern, you could see how in the longer term they'll probably attract heritage protection. Alright team, so hopefully you enjoyed today's vlog. And in the next episode we'll be continuing our Wynyard Quarter mini-series by having a look at some of the technical kind of engineering stuff that went on in the lead up to regeneration. So with that said, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. See you, bye!